Henderson. Anything you can think of, I had it.
And what about now?
I feel the lads call me king, but it's not, I'm just scolds.
Good evening and welcome to episode 7 of the Southern Manx podcast by the fans for the fans. With me tonight is Joe Perkins.
Evening.
Mark Powell.
Hello, guys.
And Orlando Carrera.
Evening.
How are we all, gents?
Yeah, buzzing.
Yeah, well,
It's match day. Buzzing.
Match day. Yeah, so listeners, we'll just sort of advise what we're doing tonight. We've got the Sociedad game on in the background, but we fought against doing a live watch along because it's a dead rubber, 4-0. But also, if we didn't do it live, or we were just talking for 90 minutes about a game that was a bit non-existent, by the time you get to listen to it, the game had been done. So we just thought we'd have it in the background, and we'll chip in as and when if anything happens. But we've got so much to cover already on the show. We're going to obviously review the win against Newcastle, the good and bad about that performance. Going to look forward to always a tricky test against Chelsea away at the weekend. Look forward to next Wednesday night's game under the lights at Selhurst, away at Palace. And then our usual section 4, we've got our quiz, so have your pens and pencils and papers ready. We're going to talk about Dean Henderson being in the news recently. Is he going to move away from Old Trafford? And also our social media roundup. So that's tonight's show. Hope you're looking forward to it as much as we are. And we'll crack on then with the weekend's events away at Newcastle. So, Mark, I'll start with you. Give us your thoughts on the overall team selection, who came in, who came out, and where you think the game was won for United and ultimately lost for Newcastle.
Yeah, so it was 5 changes from the game with Sociedad. Obviously, he rotated the keeper again, rotated Bailly again. That seems to be a common theme. Tellez and Shaw did their job swap, Europa League and League. I guess the one surprising one was Greenwood. Greenwood dropped out the side. Dan James kept in. I thought that was right. And I guess the other one was Martial. I think we'll come on to him shortly, but they were the couple of surprises for me. I can understand why he's doing it. With Cavani injured at the minute, we don't think Greenwood's a centre forward, so I can see there's a bit of. I can understand what he's trying to do. But yeah, no real surprises. We know that this is how Ollie works these days. I guess just slightly disappointed that Bailly didn't get a start because he's back in the side again tonight. I guess he'll drop out again this weekend against Chelsea. He only plays one game a week, and we know that sort of Lindelof's got his problems. We've talked about it at great length. But you're not going to solve these problems by keep playing him, unless he's obviously just waiting for the summer to make a new signing. Surely it's worth seeing what Bailly's got with a run of games. He's obviously fit because he's in the squad. Been in the squad for the last few games, so that's the only one that baffled me a little bit. For the game in sort of summary, I thought first half we weren't great. Individual brilliance from Rashford again, rather than creating great opportunities. It was him beating the fullback the right number of times this time. Lovely nutmeg. I think he's got the most nutmegs in Europe this season in the top 5 leagues, which is a very useless stat. And obviously the finish was brilliant. And then more questionable defending. Didn't clear our lines a couple of times. They seemed to target at Newcastle. Played a few quick corners and sort of to draw us out and then catch us in behind. Not a fan of that, and that needs addressing. I don't want to keep saying that on this podcast, but that needs addressing. Maybe that's something to do with the season. The games are so quick that they don't get the time on the training pitch to work on these things. I'm not sure. That seems like a bit of a flimsy excuse. And then second half, we needed to up it, and I think we did. But again, it was individual brilliance. I think Bruno got another assist. James took it well, and then we got the penalty again through a bit of brilliance from Rashford to win it. Not a vintage display by any means, but we got over the line. Again, Bruno, goal and assist, the difference. But some other good performances, like you say, James again, nice for him to get another goal. I thought he was bright second half. A couple of bad decisions, he might have got another goal, another assist. But overall, they're the games that look we've won. Move on to the next one, and kind of reminded me of a lot of our games this season, whereby we haven't played brilliantly, but we've got the job done. And I remember sort of Sheffield United, Arsenal, Everton to an extent, whereby these are games that we probably should have won, and they just haven't worked out for us for a reason. But pretty similar to other games that we have won. I'll file this one in there. Good 3 points. Move on.
Yeah, I suppose at this stage of the season, it's not going to matter how you get the job done, as long as you get the job done. You mentioned James there, and we said we'll keep you live updates as you know, live as what we're recording anyway. But Dan James just gave away a penalty against Sociedad. However, the young starlet, I won't attempt his name, Ozabal or something like that.
Oyazabal.
Yeah, my Spanish ain't good, mate. Chorizo and patatas bravas has just absolutely, I don't know, he's got his sandwich out and it's gone high and wide and not very handsome. So still 0-0. So JP, on the James front, he seems to have taken his chance, getting a little bit of hype back again in the media. So he had obviously scored a goal as well against Newcastle, scored last week at Sociedad. So people had him in the running for man of the match against Newcastle. Another unsung hero is Nemanja Matic. I know Fernandes will get plenty of plaudits for the goal and the assist. I know that's caused a bit of controversy, but how do you think Matic and James in particular played against Newcastle?
I think James, you've got to be impressed, because I think it was a big move for him when he came to the club, and obviously when we first signed him, he was straight into the team, wasn't he? That first little period he was at the club, and since then, obviously, his sort of progression of form, you could argue, has tailed off a bit, along with obviously other players coming along in his position that have maybe crept ahead of him in the pecking order. Mason, to name but one, I think. You've got to respect the fact that he's sort of stuck at it in the background. You haven't heard him come out in the press moaning about this, moaning about that. It looked like recently that he might move away, didn't it, in the transfer window? That hasn't happened. He's stuck around. He's obviously been working hard. He said that in the post-match interview. I think that was the Sociedad game, the first one. Easy for me to say. But yeah, so he's got himself back in for a couple of games, and he's looked positive. We know he's got pace to burn, and he scores goals. I think if you get in the habit of scoring goals, that's fantastic. He's going to get more opportunities, and hopefully the more opportunities he gets, his confidence will grow, and he'll get better and improve each week. So I think that's a real sort of positive that's come out of nowhere for us. As for Matic, he's looked good as well. I guess with Matic, you know what you're going to get. He's a steady hand, isn't he? Proper professional. You know what you're going to get. He does what he does well. He wins the ball. He breaks up play, and he looked good as well. So yeah, very, very positive. And I think this could be a little bit of a theme running through the pod about fringe players. And we seem to have some arguably fringe players that have come in and done well recently. So yeah, good news. Yeah,
it's very much a squad game, and been reading some funny stories on Matic, because he doesn't strike me as the man with the most humour, but he's the man that does the fines in the dressing room, and recently fined Harry Maguire for bringing his mobile phone into the gym. So no, it's interesting to read those little anecdotes. Anything you want to add on Matic, James, or anyone else, JP?
Yeah, you just reminded me, Nick, actually, about Matic. I heard in the week that in a recent interview, he was sort of saying, he's getting towards the end of his career, he wants to win trophies, and he's treating every game like a final. I think that just sort of proves sort of professional he is, and I think that sort of attitude is the one you want in the team, whether he's playing or whether he's not playing. and that in the dressing room is a great attitude to have, I think.
Yeah, absolute solid pro. What's your thoughts on that, Mark?
Yeah, just quickly on Matic, one thing I did really like with his display was he actually passed the ball forward a bit more against Newcastle. I think it was the goal for the penalty, or the pass for the penalty, or the James goal. I can't remember which one, but that was Matic kind of up high with a bit of a nosebleed, making penetrative passes in the final third. And you think that's not really his game. And for him to sort of do that at this stage in his career, I mean, granted against a very limited Newcastle team, but you know, these games, sometimes stuff like that can be the difference. And you know, fair play to him. I'd like to see, you know, some new players get blooded in that role for the longer term. And so I think Matic is kind of on his way out. But you know, you can't fault his professionalism, and he played well. He done well.
Yeah, Joe, do you agree?
Yeah, I do. I was just going to say on that, lads. I don't know what you guys think. It'd be interesting to hear your opinion. But in terms of passing the ball forward, do you think that maybe we've got Ollie to thank for that in terms of the attitude and sort of the application, the way we're going about games, whether it's Matic or whoever it is? You know, the passing forward is Ollie a key part of that? Do you think?
Yeah, I think you always hear that when there's sort of the brilliant thing about no fans in is you do get to hear about more from what the coaches are saying, and there's always anyone who's ever commentating on, or any pundits, they're always hearing the United coaching staff saying pass the ball forward, move the ball quicker. It seems to be, I mean, you can just keep saying that over and over again, and obviously must be a bit more to it on the training field. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly not something LVG was known for a few years ago, passing forward. So yeah, I mean, definitely give Ollie a bit of credit for that. I think we still need to do more. Particularly, Fred is not a, you know, you can get quite frustrated still with him. A lot of the time, it's sideways and back. So yeah, it's still a lot to do. But yeah, good point.
So from players that impressed at the weekend to a player that did have the fans on his side for so long, but it seems to have taken a bit of a turn, especially this season, Joe. Anthony Martial, I mean, is he United's long-term number 9? Is it just one of those years? Sum up Tony Marshall for us this year.
I think the issue I have with Martial is, you just said there, Nick, is it one of these years? And my opinion is every other year, or even every other game, is one of these games or one of these years for Martial. He's obviously got the talent. He's a good footballer. I don't like him. I never have liked him at centre forward. He's not my sort of centre forward. I put him in the same category as one of these, you know, wide forwards, attacking forwards on the wing. But for me, how long has he been at the club now? I mean, it must be getting on. It's what, 7 years, maybe 6, 7 years.
Van Gaal bought him, didn't he? Yeah, I think I want to say 2015 era. Van Gaal bought him deadline day.
Absolutely, and I mean, you would hope a player that sort of come in at the level he did, playing the way he did, scoring the goals he did. I would argue that there hasn't been enough progression there, and not consistently, and not an upward trend. He may have had periods where he's looked better and done well and looked positive. Particularly, what sticks in my mind is when he got the number 9 shirt back when Lukaku left, and Ollie very much made him his centre forward. And he done well. I think that was in the second season, was it? Well, it is Ollie's second season, but yeah, whenever it was, he done very well for a period. And that's obviously very much tailed off again. I don't like the way he carries himself. I never have. I don't like the faces he pulls. Like he has a bit of something unpleasant under his nose most of the time. I don't think the attitude's right. And to answer your question, I think, in my opinion, we should say thank you very much, and we should let him out the exit door for a half decent fee. Wish him well, and move on. That's my honest opinion.
So you would get rid totally of Anthony Martial?
I just think if it hasn't happened now, what we all expect it to happen, and the levels we've sort of glimpses we've had, if that hasn't happened on a consistent basis after 6-7 years at the club, then I don't think it's ever going to happen to what we want and what we need. And I think it's probably run its course. No hard feelings, but yeah, I would suggest it's probably time to move on.
Yeah, fair enough. And then moving on from Anthony Martial, then. Oh, we spoke in depth last week about our former United captain, Steve Bruce, and his career. Where's it going? Where's it not going? Do you think Newcastle are now in a bit of a dogfight, given since our last recording, Sheffield United went away at Fulham, lost 1-0. That's Sheffield United done. But that's Fulham giving themselves a right chance now. Are Newcastle in danger here?
Well, you have to say so. Yeah, they've been brought right into it, haven't they? Really, they sort of seemed in that pack that were sort of loitering but fairly safe-ish. But recent results have conspired against them, so they do find themselves in and around that now. I said it, I think, one of the previous pods. Newcastle, to me, they're a championship side, and I think they very well could be a championship side again next season. And if they were, I think they would struggle to be sort of mid-table in the championship. I think Bruce has not done a great job, but for the same time, what has he got available to him? I think even our friend Raiola would do. I don't know if he is Joel Linton's agent, but if he isn't, then he probably should be, because 40 million for that is absolutely outrageous business. I think he's had more haircuts than he has goals. They're just really not a very good side. I don't think Bruce is going to be able to do any more than he is there. If they got in another manager, could they do a bit better? Obviously, Rafa left, and that was a bit of a sore subject for them. Sort of just had a quick gaze at the fixtures that Newcastle have got left, and their last two fixtures is one's at home to Sheffield United, who will probably be done and dusted by then, you would imagine. But then the last game of the season is away to Fulham. So that's going to be a real tasty one. And the games they've still got to go to. They've still got Man City at home, go away to Leicester. They've still got to play Arsenal, still got to play Liverpool. They've got Wolves at the weekend. They've still got to play Tottenham. They've still got to play Villa. So they've got a tough old run in, really, if you look at the fixtures ahead of them. So I think another two teams like Fulham, they do try to play football. Scott Parker's tried to get them to play some good football. I think they've been overexposed. They are a footballing team. They wouldn't be a loss, you would say, whereas they would be a loss, you would say, whereas Newcastle wouldn't be. So in answer to your question, I think that I think Fulham will probably just pip them to the post. From a neutral point of view, it'd be great for it to go down to that last game of the season and sort of winner takes all kind of thing. But I suppose we'll have to wait and see. Yeah,
fair enough. So, before I move on, if you was a betting man, Newcastle in the Championship next season or Premier League?
I think Newcastle will be in the Championship next season. That's my prediction, yeah.
And Steve Bruce to still be Newcastle manager?
If it makes sense financially for our Mr. Mike Ashley, then it wouldn't surprise me. But I have a few Newcastle friends of mine on Twitter, and they are forever lambasting Steve Bruce's reign there. So not that Mike Ashley seems to do much with pressure from the fans, but I don't really think they'll probably do, whoever is the flavour of the month championship manager, because you have championship managers, don't you? Managers that kind of get you out of the championship and back into the Prem. That's kind of their forte. So it wouldn't surprise me if they went down that route, perhaps.
Fair enough. And JP, did you want to add anything to Newcastle there? Still got that mute button, mate. So it's only been a year of lockdown.
I think I managed to actually avoid that for the first time for a whole pod last week. So back to form. I was just going to say that sort of championship manager mould and fit they're looking for is Steve Bruce, isn't it? So keep him there.
Yeah, there's a few, and I know we touched on it last week, and there's a few of them that are United old boys as well, when your Mark Hugheses and things like that. And 10 years ago it was Steve Coppell. But yeah, no, really interesting to hear your thoughts. I thought Newcastle were out of it, but after Fulham's run of form and what you just said there, the fixtures, I think there's only one way, and that way is down. And I think that's Brucey down the job centre, unfortunately. Right, great to hear your thoughts on that, lads. We're going to move on to part two now, and what a game coming up. Not one we've always been successful at away at Stamford Bridge, but that's coming up in part two.
When you first arrived at Manchester United, did you ever envisage staying here as long as you have?
I never envisaged anything, really. I just came from school and wanted to play
football.
Hello guys, and welcome back to part 2 of this Southern Manx podcast. We're now going to turn our attention to Sunday's fixture at Stamford Bridge, another marquee fixture not only for United but also in the Premier League era, and certainly since Chelsea formed back in 2003. However, it hasn't really been a happy hunting ground for United, certainly not in since the turn of the 21st century. Only 3 wins in the Premier League era since 2000 at the Bridge, Nick. How do you see this one going for us?
Tough. I think over the years, this is the team we've picked up the least points against. It's always a difficult place to go. Funny enough, this is one of those fixtures, I think, without fans, it might make it slightly easier. And I think we'll be in with a good chance the way that Chelsea line up, but I know you boys are going to touch on that in a bit. So I am quietly confident, but this is one of those fixtures you look at and you think, oh, Chelsea away, could do without this one. It is a tough game. We've not got a great record down there. I know we won there a couple of times last year in the league. I think we had a good result in the FA Cup, or was it the League Cup with the Rashford free kick? One of the cups we had a good result in. I think Pogba dominated. But yeah, this is one of the games they're going to have another couple of days rest on us. They had a good result, had a bloody good result away at Atletico Madrid on Tuesday night. I mean, that was a really good performance from Chelsea. This is a tough one. In terms of team selection, I know we like to predict it and everything like that. I really hope we go as strong as we can be. I know managers like to not show their hands, and maybe tonight is a bit of an indication, considering Greenwood's playing. You know, I guess we'll wait and see if he plays all the 90. But to counteract my own argument, Bruno's starting tonight as well. So maybe Ollie's got a few tricks up his sleeve, but this will be a tough game. I'd like to go us, traditional 4-3, but I know Bruno's really the number 10, but I still class him as a midfielder, so 4-3-3. But is this something where he'll try and match up how Chelsea play? I don't know. I can't predict it. I've done quite well recently on the pods in terms of the prediction of the teams, but this one I can't predict because it was Chelsea last year in the FA Cup semi-final where Ollie just completely threw a spanner in the works and outfought himself out of a cup final. So hopefully he's learnt from that. We've got a few people to check on. McTominay will probably play if he's fit. I don't think Pogba's due back in February. I think he was out all of February, so that rules him out of this one. And you'd like to think Cavani must be close. So hopefully Cavani and McSauce come back in. I'm a big fan of Bailly, but tonight suggests that it will be Lindelof and Maguire. So tough game to answer your question. It's the one I look at the fixture list every season and think, oh, here we go then. This is the tough one. They're on a high, great result last week. But without the fans, we are the second best team in the league, according to the league table. So we certainly shouldn't go there fearing Chelsea. And we've got a really good chance. But one of the toughest games of the season.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we have got a few selection issues there. I think you're right there. McTominay is certainly a doubt from today. That's what we've heard. Pogba's not expected till March at the earliest. Cavani's still a doubt, and Van der Beek's also a doubt. So
Van der Beek, yeah.
Yeah, so perhaps maybe a little bit strange the midfield selection tonight, considering the game on Sunday. You could argue, but I suppose we'll have to wait and see now, won't we? Chelsea, Mark, seem quite rigid, and Tuchel seems to be favouring this 3-4-3, or if you want to call it a 3-4-2-1 type system. I suppose similar to Conte in some ways. United under Ollie are quite rigid in the sort of 4-2-3-1 approach. Is there an argument in this game, given the personnel that we have available to us potentially for Ollie to change it up, or do you think it would be best to just pick his strongest possible 11, sticking to that kind of format that we've just so happily employed for this entire season?
Yeah, so I think you know what you're going to get with Chelsea under under TT. He's going to play the 3-4-3. He's been very clear about what he wants since he come in. It's about. Even people spent 50 million on the left back. Chilwell can't get a sniff at the minutes. Alonso's gone back in there. I think for his attacking, because he's not a good defender. That is an attacking decision to try and get them. Whoever plays wing backs for them on the left and right, they're essentially attackers. He wants them really high and wide to allow space for Werner to play in. This formation he plays is about getting the best out of Werner. He likes to play the big man up top, whether that's Giroud or Abraham. I think, obviously, given the goal on against Atletico, it'd be Giroud. So I think if we're going to react to Chelsea, there's a big red flag, in a French dress straight away. If you're going to play Giroud, a big physical centre forward, would I play Lindelof? No, absolutely no chance. And that'll be the first mistake he makes if he selects him. Hopefully he does well if he does. But you'd imagine this will be a game for Bailly, not for his pace, but to make up with Lindelof's weaknesses more than anything. And it's all well and good saying, "Oh well, Maguire can pick him up in the air," but that doesn't seem to happen. Centre forward seem to isolate Lindelof, like what happened at West Brom with I can't remember his name. Diagne, is that his name? He essentially said, Lindelof, I'm going to pin him. I'm essentially going to go to his side, and they got the goal through that. So I think if there's going to be one thing that Ollie does react to is there. System-wise, shape, we haven't seen the back three for quite a while. I'd be quite worried if he brings it out at Stamford Bridge. Although I think he had quite good success there in the league game last season when we won. I think that was a back three then, with Luke Shaw as a auxiliary left-sided central defender. So you could see that. I think when you start changing your system without a run of games to sort of get a bit of rhythm in it, there's always a slight worry. But they're professional footballers; they should be able to react and adapt. They'll be working on it in training. I guess that's the one issue with this season, though. Any season really, when you're playing Thursday, Sunday, is there's not a lot of time to work on that between now and the game. So yeah, I think we've got to go strong. It has to be the strongest team. I think.
I didn't catch that.
Oh,
could you try again?
Siri is talking to me. Ignore that. I think Cavani, McTominay, and Van der Beek sounds like they're going to miss out. So it's going to be pretty much what's in the squad tonight. Unless that's a bit of Ollie being cute and 2 out of 3 make that. McTominay would be a miss. Don't know how much Matic has got in his legs, for 2 or 3 games in the space of 10 days. So we have to wait and see. It's going to be a very, very tough game. I think we need to concentrate on us, look at our obvious weakness, centre half, address that. The rest of the team really picks itself, I think. Whether that's in a back 3 or back 4, I don't think there's not a massive difference, and they'll adapt to it. I just want us to keep the away record intact, really. I think we'll come to predictions in a minute, but yeah, that's my overview.
Yeah, I think both managers seem quite set in their formations and the way that they like to play, and I think it will be my formation is going to beat yours. That's kind of going to probably stick to the guns. I don't anticipate a change from Ollie. Just sometimes perhaps we think does it get quite predictable? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? We get it consistency from a player's point of view. They know what's happening. I suppose it can also work against you because it makes you quite predictable. Joe, Tuchel now 8 games into his tenure at Chelsea, and in that time still remain unbeaten. I've only conceded 2 goals in that time, one against Sheffield United, one against Southampton. Haven't been heavily in terms, they haven't scored many themselves. They've only scored, I think, 2 in any one game, off the back of a good win earlier in the week against Atletico Madrid. So do you think that Abramovich has been vindicated in his choice to get rid of Frank Lampard and get him in? Do you think that was a good choice?
In my opinion, I think Frank Lampard should have had more time. I think Chelsea are sort of quick on the trigger. I know, in the modern day, a lot of clubs, managers don't last as long as they did, once upon a time. I feel they maybe should have given them a bit longer. I know it's about managing the side, but once you've made a decision to employ a manager who is a club legend, because that's what he is, maybe not with the level of experience that he should have to get a job at that stage, I would argue, maybe. And obviously we could say the same about Ollie. I know we've had those conversations. My opinion would be he should have been given a bit more time. They brought a lot of new players in, spent a lot of money, and on paper they look like very, very good acquisitions. And as we all know, and as often happens, it takes time for those things to all come together and to mesh, and for a team to gel, and that obviously hadn't happened. So I think it was harsh. In terms of Tuchel, he's one of these of this sort of part of this German manager club, where you must have been through Dortmund at some point, and looked like a bit of a scientist sort of vibes. Sometimes wears a bit of a dodgy coat or a dodgy pair of trousers. That's sort of the vibe, isn't it, with Tuchel? You can't doubt his credentials. He's obviously done well wherever he's been. And I think he's sort of come in and they've had that bounce, haven't they? And they've, as you said, they're not scoring many goals, but they're winning games. And that's the effect, the desired effect. And that's why Chelsea have sort of regularly changed managers very early on. And to be fair, for large parts of the time, it's worked quite well for them. That sort of short attitude to managers' tenures. So, yeah, they've had that bounce. I think he's done well so far. I think he needs to be careful. There's a couple of things I haven't liked about how he's sort of approached things so far. Most notably, I don't know if you guys saw this, but he brought Hudson-Odoi on as a substitute. I think it was the last game. I can't remember who it was against. I think it might have been Southampton, the last league game. He brought Hudson-Odoi on as a substitute and he took him off again, which is fine. Obviously, that does happen. It's a bit gutting for a player, but see that happen to a young English prospect, and then he sort of lambasted him afterwards publicly and said he didn't like his attitude and his body language and the way he was going about the game. I mean, I don't know if that's the right way to approach getting the best out of players, especially as someone that's just come in, maybe trying to stamp his authority a bit on the club. As Mark alluded to there as well, he hasn't been afraid to make changes. Chilwell's been left out and Alonso's come in. He's also brought Rudiger back in from the cold, who seems to have been playing well since he's brought back in. So he's had a good start to his Chelsea career, and how long will it last? Will he be at the start of next season? Who knows?
Yeah, knowing Chelsea, he's probably about halfway into his tenure already, really. The way they like to operate seems to work well for them there, and they've had success over the years, fair few trophies with all the various different managers they've had. Glad that's not the system that we employ, but yeah, it seemed to have worked for them. So, bearing all that in mind that we've just spoken about there, guys, just want to kind of get some predictions for you from you guys. So, Nick, how do you see it panning out on Sunday?
I'll always try and be positive with fans. After all, I think if we can start well and start high and start wide, maybe catch their wing backs up the pitch, push or try and push them back a bit. I think we could win. I could see Rashford being a key man here, but this is a tough game. So I'm gonna do it again, heart rule ahead, and go for a 1-0, even though we got a really bad defence. So 1-0.
Mark?
Yeah, all told, maybe Ollie will go and spring a surprise and play a back three, and Tuchel will keep it tight, and it'll just be a little bit of a stalemate. So 0-0.
And last but not least, Joe?
Yeah, I was going to sit on the fence as well. I think it will be a tight game. I think it will be a draw. I'm going to go 1-1.
So on that basis, we will still yet to get a win in the top 6 this season, based upon those predictions. I think that, we'll stick to the same system. I think it'll be a 4-2-3-1 for us. I can't see Ollie changing it. I think in order to win this game, I think the weakness is going to be in Chelsea's channels. The positions that the fullbacks will ordinarily occupy. So I think in that respect, we could take advantage of that because we're very good on the counter attack. He plays a good, fast front three. Counter-attack's always going to be there. I don't see there being many goals in the game. I do think it will be either a 0-0 or a 1-0 either way. I can't see many more goals than that. Famous last words, as they say. And my final question for you guys was, have you got your virtual reality goggles ready for Sunday? As I've just seen that Sky are going to be giving this game in virtual reality. Having had a little look at there he is. Nick's got here's some I made earlier. That's why he's got his Blue Peter badge. Apparently it's almost as like it being in the stadium. You know, first of all we had Zoom quizzes over Christmas. Now we've got 3D football games. What do you make of that, guys? Good thing, bad thing?
Well, I don't actually have any goggles, so I mean, no difference for me. But it'd be interesting to see what it's like. There is a 3D channel, isn't there, on
Sky 3D? I think there is.
I've never entertained that. But yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, it seems a bit weird, but yeah, well, there you go. I'll give it a go, maybe.
I suppose it's taken the armchair fan to the next level, really, isn't it? I suppose as long as if you haven't got any goggles, Mark, you could always use one of those one red, one green glasses you used to get as a youngster with your funky, Dinosaur and Where's Wally magazines. Part one is only £1. Every other episode's about 69 quid thereafter. They always come in handy, don't they? If you can find one of those rattling around.
Yeah, can do.
How my body works.
That's the one. Well, no, cheers. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your input there. Again, obviously hoping for good things on Sunday. Always traditionally a tough fixture for us. I think if we can get away with a point from that there, it would definitely be a good result, all things considered, certainly with the injury list that we've got as well at the moment. Now we look forward to the game on Sunday.
What made you want to stay with this club and only this club?
It's the best club. I'm from Manchester. Why would I need to move? As long as I've been here and the managers want me to stay here, then that's enough for me.
Welcome back to part 3 of the Southern Manx podcast by the fans for the fans. In this next part, we're going to be discussing our upcoming trip to Selhurst Park to face Roy Hodgson's Crystal Palace. Come to you first, Mark. This game is sandwiched between obviously two tricky fixtures, to say the least, the Chelsea game and the derby against the noisy neighbours. In terms of selection, do you expect some of the fringe players to come back in, having said this? And which one of our sort of fringe players is a standout for you at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, they're all tough games. I mean, we lost against Palace earlier in the season at home. It's always tricky down there. We need to take the league seriously. We can't be making loads of changes for this one, I don't think. We've got teams breathing down our neck. I think we need to finish at least third or second, ideally second, to show a bit of progression in terms of league table versus last season. We need to keep up the momentum, get more points than last season. So it's a case of, we're going to, a Palace team and we can play a weakened side and just get away with it. I think we're going to need to be sharp. They're not in great form. They got absolutely battered earlier in the week, but come away with a win. They'll be wanting to make that a start of a new run for them. Be solid. If they come away and keep a clean sheet, then they'll be happy with that. A point. If they can nick a goal, great. United give everyone chances. We can see the goal a game. So they'll probably be thinking they can score. Especially with the sort of physical threat that they might have, people like Benteke up there. So yeah, I think we've got to be wary on this one. We've got to go fairly strong and be professional and get a good result. Keep the away run going. If we can finish the season unbeaten on the road, I think that'll be quite a record to keep into next season. Still, obviously, some work to do with the home record, but yeah, no, I think he'll make his usual sort of few changes, freshen it up, but the core will be pretty similar.
You don't think he might bring in Dan James again for this one then, though?
depends what's available, doesn't it? I mean, if Cavani's back by then you struggle to see where James fits in. It would be another sort of cameo sub appearance. Or don't forget, after this little run that he has had in the team, he was sort of unused sub coming on sporadically before then. You never know. Maybe he's on decent form at the minute. If he can keep that up, he might be pushing for a start. Who knows? But in terms of, sorry, you did ask a second question. Who out of the fringe players has impressed? I mean, yeah, probably has been James recently. His numbers have been pretty good. Obviously, scored against Newcastle, scored against was it Sociedad? Or he got an assist against Sociedad as well. So yeah, he's probably the one that stands out. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I think our squad the players coming back from injury will dictate whether James plays or not. Probably not his form. Ollie's seems to have got his settled team, strongest team. James hasn't really been part of that unless he does something brilliant in the in the games leading up to it.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he does stick to sort of one of his preferred lineups and first 11s, simply because obviously they are two games you'd like to win against Chelsea and City, particularly. But if you look at it and the way the league's sort of sitting, why not put a strong side out against Palace, get the win, and obviously then lead onto the City game and just play your best side for all three of those games, really. As we sort of have talked about lots of times, whether or not Ollie will do that is a different story. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay, leading on from that then, Nick, just going into a bit more detail about this one. Palace has sort of been on a recent run of alternating between winning and losing games. As Mark said there, they won the last one, but weren't that great, second best for most of it. They're in that sort of familiar position they've taken up since Hodgson's been in there, which is sort of just above the sort of trouble, sort of just below mid-table, looking a safe position to stay in the league this season. So it's difficult to say which Palace will turn up. Nevertheless, though, we know what type of approach that Roy Hodgson will take, don't we?
Yeah, and I don't think it is difficult to say what Palace do turn up, because this is where they've been since we started doing this podcast many years ago, when they let De Boer go to get Hodgson in, to get them into this position. You've got to remember, this is still a relatively small club, small stadium, small fan base. I mean, it's up the road from IKEA. You know what I mean? This is a very, very small club in terms of Premier League stature. So to be 2 points behind Arsenal, to be safe every year, to have a former England and Liverpool manager at the helm, very experienced manager, and a very good manager, to be fair. This is Palace. It's not going to get better. It's not going to get better for Palace. This is it. This is the dream for Crystal Palace fans. And we all know a Palace fan, sadly. We all know one. But this is it for Crystal Palace. The minute they start dreaming bigger, the minute they'll get put back in the Championship. And we've seen it many times before. You can only have to think back to Charlton in the Premier League. What was it? 3 7th place finishes under Kirbishley. Fans wanted more, got relegated. So it is a case of be careful what you wish for with Palace. This is them. Like you say, we know what they're going to do. This is going to be your, 8-9 men behind the ball, a load of 6 foot players that you didn't know were 6 foot, and where's he come from? Centre halves playing fullbacks if need be. This is what Hodgson is going to do under the lights. Again, like I said in the last section about maybe it's an advantage going to Stamford Bridge about the fans. I certainly think that's the case going to Selhurst Park under the lights without the fans. I can only see one winner. And if things don't go our way against Chelsea, we'll have to go strong against Palace. You won't be able to do squad rotation after a loss at Chelsea, because we'll have to get the points back somewhere, especially when City away is the next game. So I think we'll win as long as we take it as serious as we can do. Like you said, for Palace in terms of their form, it was a win for anti-football, wasn't it? Monday night, 2 touches inside Brighton's penalty area, 2 goals, unbelievable stat. I couldn't believe it, but it got them 3 points. That was an anti-football win. We don't like to see it, but it happened. That's Palace. Part of me roots for teams like this, the underdog story, because they're never going to compete with anyone else. They ain't getting in the Champions League. They're never going to sign an £80 million Brazilian World Cup winner. It's not going to happen. This is Palace, and we're going to them without their key man in Zaha, which we'll touch upon in the next bit. So I'm not overly concerned by it as long as we take them seriously. But am I surprised at where Palace are in the league? No. Does it surprise me that they win games they shouldn't, but then lose games they shouldn't? No. The concern for me is the summer, because they've got 13 players out of contract and the manager out of contract. That's when, and it's my favourite part of these podcasts, when we get together and talk about other teams, that'll be an interesting chat, because if they go back down the De Boer route again, or the ilk, with 13 players out of contract, that's when you start thinking, oh, hang on, it's a new Palace. But right now, if you would have told me Palace were 13th, 14th, I would have gone, yeah, you're probably right, mate. Like, this is Palace. They're a Premier League team. Their fans should be excited by this, because this is as good as it's going to get.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Yeah, definitely. Mark, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, just real quick. I saw when Lampard got sacked at Chelsea. I mean, he's been rumoured now a few different clubs, Bournemouth, Celtic. I saw an early shout that they were considering Lampard to take over from Hodgson in the summer. Would that be another run before you can walk move from them, do you think, if that were to happen?
I think that's a better appointment than De Boer, just because he's played in the Premier League, and Lampard's accent, you can picture him down Purley Way, which is a famous road in Croydon. So for me, that's a better appointment than De Boer. But it doesn't matter. As long as Crystal Palace could finish 17th every single year, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't. That is Palace. So I think Lampard's going to get linked to every job you see now. Every job you see, Lampard will get linked to, because he's the latest round of sackings. It would be the same if Ollie was to go tomorrow. It would be the same, if someone else was to go tomorrow. And these old managers now are considered like dinosaurs, and we talked about it on the last bit. Palace probably need a return of a Sam Allardyce, a return of an Alan Pardew. All the names that have already been there, it's like a revolving door. Lampard or Eddie Howe would actually be something new to Palace, but I would just say be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting point you make, Nick, actually, and I've thought about a lot myself in terms of these clubs sort of getting up into the Premier League at some point, having a few good seasons, and then sort of trying to change it up a bit and look to get to that next level. And it's very rarely, if ever, really, I think, worked. I mean, the one that sticks in my mind was Stoke City. I mean, they were a decent Premier League side for a long time in terms of results and staying in the league. And then obviously they made the decision that Pulis had sort of taken them as far as he could, and they plumped for something different in Mark Hughes, and it all sort of went downhill a bit. And obviously they're sort of never to be seen again, maybe gone back down to the Championship. And it sort of goes on from there, and you can sort of list off a whole reel of clubs that have gone the same way. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting topic, and maybe something we might be able to sort of do a little special and get stuck into at some point if you boys are up for it. Okay, great, thanks for that, lads. Yeah, that was really, really interesting. I was just going to come to you next, mate, and just sort of ask you, in sort of our old boy Wilf Zaha's absence recently through injury, the young lad they signed from QPR, Eze, has looked sort of quite an able deputy, a similar sort of player, I would argue. He's an obvious threat for Palace against us. Are there any other players or any other areas of the pitch you feel could cause us a problem at all?
Yeah, well, Zaha embarrassed us a little bit, didn't he, in the earlier on, right at the beginning of the season, really. Gave us a little bit of a hide in our own backyard, I think. I think you're right. Eze's in a similar ilk to Zaha, and really, really well at QPR. I think obviously Crystal Palace are without, legends like Armstrong and Salako and Lombardo. Still got a man like Andy Townsend on the wing, or so I say Andros Townsend, no, Andy Townsend. Find him in the ITV studio somewhere, I think. Wrong Townsend. Probably about as effective with his left peg though. Yeah, they're. I think they sort of are where they are, really, aren't they? I think Hodgson's done well with what he's got at his disposal, really. I think Nick's right. You know, they're probably not going to finish much better than they already are. I think Pardew took them to a cup final against us, really, and the highlight of the Crystal Palace reign was do the Pardew skank. You know, that was about as far as it kind of goes, really. Yeah, they are what they are, really. A little bit like I said about Newcastle, they're a championship side. I wouldn't say Palace are a championship side. They've got better players than that. But yeah, if you finish 12th or 13th or you finish 17th, as long as you're safe, does it really matter? I suppose, again, an interesting topic of conversation for another day perhaps is how do these teams make a transition from being a 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 kind of team? How do they make that transition to a top 10 finish, a top 8 finish, where is that transition? Albeit having more money at their disposal or a better manager, are there any other methods? I don't really know that there are, really. So, yeah, in answer to your question, Andy Townsend, Chris Armstrong, and Eze, I think, are the main threats for Crystal Palace, or Gaza Cahill and Kouyaté from a corner. That's about it, really.
Goal at Old Trafford.
Goal at OT. Hold tight.
Yeah, just watching the pictures now. Axel Tuanzebe. Is that his first goal for United?
Oh, they're
Can't
checking
remember.
it. They're checking it, Mark. They're checking it.
Are they?
Checking it, yeah.
I'm on a bit of a delay, I think. No, there's no foul there. Maybe Lindelof's jumped really early.
I was about to say, Lindelof's had more airtime than Chris Moyles there, isn't he?
Yeah, maybe he's. Maybe he's.
Yeah, let's have a look at that.
I think it's been.
Took me a couple of seconds to get
that. He's absolutely chinned the geezer with his knee straight in the mush.
I mean, he's had to go over to the TV here. I mean, what's he? This is another VR, and it's another one we should get stuck into maybe in pre-season VAR. He's gone over. The ref's looking at the TV, and here we go. Lindelof's gone up. What? Lindelof's gone up. He's kneed someone at the face. He's given the Triple H high knee.
No, he's done the absolute Frosby flop there. He's in the Olympics doing the high jump.
I think he must have been to the old Swedish Ibrahimovic taekwondo lessons or something with that one, isn't he? It's weird.
What's the thought process there? I mean, the only time he tries to attack the ball in the air, he's just absolutely nailed someone. He's about 10 yards away from the ball.
It's no goal, and it's no goal. Someone's getting a yellow. I think it's Lindelof. I mean, you'll next see that move at WrestleMania, because that was a big knee.
What is he
doing? It's allowed, GBH charge pending. You know what I mean?
He's shaking his head, but the bloke's jaw's in 15 pieces.
The thing is, did that prevent the guy from winning the header? Would that have changed the outcome of that goal?
I don't know. If you knee someone in the face anywhere else on the pitch, mate, it's probably a foul, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's not changed the outcome of the goal, maybe, but it's changed the outcome of his face.
Axel is absolutely fuming.
Livid.
Whilst we were talking there, Ahmad Diallo come on for Dan James. Dan James straight down the tunnel. Looks like he's pulled something injury-wise. And a few nice touches from Ahmad since he come on. Looked quite sharp.
Thanks for that, lads. I really enjoyed that. I felt like I was part of the old school soccer Saturday club there.
Yeah.
It's been a goal, has there? I don't know, Jeff.
Yeah. Cheers, Cammy.
Oh no, it wasn't a goal. It's
my hair looks a bit like Cammy at the moment. I need a haircut, mate. Bring it on, Boris.
Sorry, I apologise. Just to correct that, it wasn't a goal, was it? It was Anthony van den Boer being sent off and he hadn't noticed. Been subbed. Anyway, nevertheless, yeah, fantastic. Thanks for that, lads. I really enjoyed that part. Talking about Palace, among other things, which I wasn't expecting to enjoy it quite so much. So thank you very much for that. Fantastic. So this has been part 3 of the Southern Manx podcast by the fans for the fans. Nearly slipped up there. We will see you again in part 4.
Obviously, I missed out a few tackles, but who doesn't?
Welcome back to the final part of the Southern Manx podcast, where we will play our latest round of Carlos Quizros, catch up with social media this week, and general roundup of everything else going on at Old Trafford. Without further ado, we will move on to Carlos Quizros. 5 questions, as always, usual format, generally Premier League era based United quiz, where our panel test their knowledge against each other. We are running a leaderboard, so I don't know, we'll sort out some vouchers for the winner at the end of the season. Right, question number 1. 7 Brazilians have played for Man United. Who are they? So I'll just give everyone at home a chance to write their answers down. So I'll give you a little pause in between the questions.
Pencils ready, guys.
Yeah, pencils, pens, paper. I mean, crayons.
Sketch.
If there's any Liverpool fans listening, because they're not sharp objects.
I got the 7th.
Well, late entry, perhaps. Question number 2. We've won the Champions League twice in the Premier League era. Who did we beat in the 2 semi-finals to get to the final? Who did we knock out at semi-final stage in when we won it? Obviously, we beat Chelsea and Bayern Munich in the 2 finals. Who did we beat in the semis? Question 3. Between 92-93 and 00-01, we won 7 Premier League titles. Absolute domination. With Blackburn and Arsenal in 94-95 and 97-98 respectively, breaking up what could have been a 9 consecutive title win. But in those 2 seasons that we were pipped to the post, how many points in total did we lose those 2 titles to, or by? How many points in total did we lose those titles by? That's question 3. Question 4. In the first Premier League season, who was our top goal scorer in the league? So top league goal scorer in our first Premier League season. So a few candidates from our squad around that time. Have a think of who you think was the leading marksman. Okay, number 5, last question. Goal scoring based. Our highest total in any one season is 31. So this is league goals only. But who set that record? Who set our highest total in any one given league season? 31 league goals. Right. That one should be nice and easy. Without further ado, we'll run through the answers. I'll call them out, and our panel will tick off ones they got right. Hopefully you can do the same at home. Right, so question number 1. 7 Brazilians to have played for United. I'll read them out. Anderson, Rafael, Fabio, Kleberson, Andreas Pereira, Fred. One more was Rodrigo Possebon.
I got Possebon. I forgot Pereira, and it seems like everyone's forgot Tellus.
Need independent adjudication from Lancelot there with some of those answers.
I want a recount.
8 Brazilians to have played for United. Alex Telles.
I'd have been screwing it. Imagine if you got all the 7 with Telles but forgot like Possible or something like that, you'd be livid.
I got Possebon though. I got Possebon.
I thought Ricardo, but then I remembered he was Portuguese. I couldn't remember he was Brazilian.
The question was prior to this season.
Oh yeah, well recovered. Fair enough.
There were 7. All right.
I put Bebe down. Was he Portuguese?
Portuguese,
and he was homeless.
I don't think he had any nationality, to be fair, just on the streets.
Oh, that's where they found him, the homeless World Cup, weren't it?
Yeah, playing for tennis balls, right? So how many points do you get for 6?
So we're not including Telles because it's before this season, so up to this season, how many played for United? So 7. Anderson, Raphael, Fabio, Kleberson, Pereira, Fred, Possebon.
Is it 1 point for all 7?
You only get 1 point if you get all 7. You get half a point for 6.
Okay,
Possebon's quite a niche.
It was my first one down, I think.
Yeah,
Sounds like
three
Pokemon.
games. Yeah. Question 2. Who did we beat in the 2 semi-finals? Was Juventus, Barcelona. You might remember the Paul Scholes effort outside the box at Old Trafford to secure that one. Question 3 was how many did we lose those 2 titles that could have made it 7 between 93 and 2001? The total points was 2 points. We had a goal difference in both seasons. So yeah, if we'd have just gained 1 more point in both of those seasons, we would have had 2 more league titles. And when you combine that with the season when we lost on goal difference to City, the 2 Champions League finals that we were beaten by Pep and Messi, how, there's 5 extra trophies there in Sir Alex's already bulging trophy cabinet. So yeah, outrageous. Number 4, our first Premier League season, or the first Premier League season, I should say. Who was our top goal scorer, league goal scorer? With 15.
Giggsy.
It was Mark Hughes.
Yes.
Giggs was second on 9.
Yes,
Joint second on 9 with Eric. But Hughesy pipped them both.
Did you get
15.
Sparky, JP?
I did, mate, yeah.
I got Sparky as well.
Educated guess.
Well done, boys. Well done.
It was either that or Paul Parker.
Our record goal scorer, a league goal scorer, 31 in a season.
Rude.
Ronnie,
Some people have got this wrong.
Rude.
Ronnie,
Ronnie.
It was Cristiano Ronaldo.
Ronnie, innit?
Oh, no.
Ronnie.
Wobble time
Oh,
there.
Who else could it be?
JP. It was Cristiano. You may remember. Yeah, so got 31 in that season.
I didn't
So
put him in the mix. It was between Coley and Rude for me. That absolutely failed.
I thought it was bang on Rude 0203.
Yeah. Teletext every time you turn it on. Rude banged another one in.
Probably get some disgruntled viewers saying all these answers are wrong. But no, I did do my homework and verified them. So should be fine on that.
Don't comment anyway.
No. Well, if you disagree with any of that stuff, guys, comment below. Right, how many did you get right, guys? I know you have. Just listeners, so you're aware, we got everyone to send their answers in before, and just so there's no cheating. Not that they would, but we are all United fans, so ultra competitive. How many did you get out of 5, guys? Nick, how many did you get?
2.5. Let myself down. 2.5.
50%. Okay. Joe?
2. I had a shocker.
Oh.
I put 3 points instead of 2 points. Got nowhere near it with the Brazilians, and I had Rude as the 31. So yeah, 2 points, unfortunately.
And our Portuguese correspondent, Orlando?
3.5. Really disappointed with the second question. I just completely forgot about the more recent champion. I don't know why I went Schalke. I don't know where that came from.
Schalke was the round before, I believe.
Yeah.
We had Schalke in a semi-final.
Yeah.
In one of the Barca finals, but we did them 2-0 away and then smashed them 4-0. I think Anderson even got a brace in the home.
Yeah.
One of our Brazilians.
So it should have been 4.5 really, and I was 1 away in the Brazilian. I didn't get Possebon. I thought Ricardo was, but then I remember he's actually Portuguese. So yeah,
you should know that one then, given he's from the same country as you. So that rounds up our latest Carlos Quizros quiz. Always a good laugh to do that at the end of quite usual sort of serious pod. Which leads me just onto social media roundup. Lots of new followers again last week, so thanks for that. There's a few other podcasts, sort of independent podcasts I just wanted to call out. So Total Screamers, Yellow Card, The One United, and Up the Podcast. So check them out. They're they've subscribed to us as well. So, good to support each other in what we're doing. A couple of sort of diehard United fans, Giggs Class, Devil's Advocate, and Irish Amy as well, who, again, is another sort of fan cast one. She Devils United, which I think she's part of. So, thanks again for your follow. And also internationally, we've had some success in particularly the United States of America. Supporters clubs, but the United Knoxville club, supporters club, and from Delhi as well, so all the way over there in India. So thank you for your follow as well. And I know we've got the Facebook account, and we've had 30 new likes on there as well. So social media is where it's at, and like I say, it's been great to interact with everyone on all things United in the last week. So keep that coming. I guess just to round up with a little bit of other not United news, as we're in the closing stages of the Sociedad game now, 0-0. Disallowed goal earlier. We touched on Tuanzebe header, Lindelof foul. Looks like it's going to finish goalless. Shola Shuratiri's come on and broken Norman Whiteside's record for youngest European player for us, or the youngest player to feature in Europe, which is good. Also on tonight is Dean Henderson. Lots of chat about him mainly on social media. I'm not sure how vocal he's been, but lads, I'll go around just to get everyone's opinion on this. Can we see any truth in this, in him leaving in the summer? Has Ollie got a decision to make? Does he need to pick one out of him and De Gea? Nick, I'll come to you first.
I think there's a decision. I think it's a good question. I do generally think there's a decision. I think he goes to the Euros as part of Gareth Southgate's squad, which will only up his value considering he signed a new contract this summer. I'm in agreement with what you said last week, and that is we don't know how good he is until we try it. So I'm none the wiser regarding Dean Henderson. I couldn't give you an educated guess right now. There's things I like about De Gea over Henderson. There's things I like about Henderson over De Gea. And until you see a run of games for Henderson, there's no way of telling. United is a classy club, and we've always done things with a little bit of class. But we've let ourselves down in the summer just gone with, I think we could have allowed Henderson to go back on loan, probably Sheffield United or wherever, and allowed Romero his one more season in the Cups. And his contract would have naturally expired. And then Henderson could have came in the summer and we could have started this process then. And I think it would have been cleaner. Henderson would have had another Premier League season under his belt. And I think we would have had more answers. So as we speak here, Henderson's just come out and caught another cross. He's got that in his locker. So I like him. I don't want to see him go. If we see him go, though, if the news on social media is correct, it will be at a premium because he's got a brand new contract on big money and he's an England international that will go to the Euros. So, look, I'm not going to lose any sleep if he goes because I don't know if he's our number one yet. But if he goes, it will be for big, big money. Who's got that nowadays? Not a lot of clubs. I think we're one of the only clubs with big, big money. So I'm not losing sleep. I'm not losing sleep. I don't know if he's going to be our number one because I haven't seen him enough. I think we've handled this situation not well with Romero. And I think we could have given Henderson another season out on loan, which would have benefited everyone. So I don't have the answers right now, but I won't lose sleep if he goes.
Yeah, so I think I've seen sort of fee, like you say, with the contract. I think they've been talking about fee of 40 million-ish. Spurs, Dortmund as well, apparently. I'm not sure where they've got any money. I guess they're banking on maybe Haaland or Sancho leaving and giving them some cash to play with. But yeah, like you say, I like him. He offers something that De Gea doesn't. De Gea's becoming a bit of a problem now. Obviously, he signed a new deal when the fax machine broke. He's on a lot of money, best paid goalkeeper in world football. He's not the best goalkeeper in world football, that's for sure. How much you're going to get for De Gea these days? Who's going to want him? No idea. You're looking at someone like a PSG maybe, but they've got Navas, who's, they're probably not going to get rid of him. Other than that, I can't really see a destination for him. I honestly can't. PSG, Real Madrid, maybe he goes back to Atletico Madrid. He's got unfinished business there, but they've got a brilliant goalkeeper in Oblak, so that means he's got to go somewhere. So yeah, our goalkeeping situation is a problem because he's definitely not the best goalkeeper anymore, and we've got Henderson there who apparently is not the most patient. So we'll have to wait and see. Joe, Orlando, anything else to add on the goalkeeping situation or any other news from United this week that you wanted to call out?
I just think I'd completely echo what Nick said in terms of I think the way to manage that situation, because we had two top level goalkeepers, regardless of what we're saying about obviously the drop off a bit from De Gea, but in Romero and De Gea coming up to a Euros. Dean Henderson had a good season. Is there any reason why we couldn't have kept Romero and De Gea, as Nick said, for that season, and let Dean Henderson have another good season out on loan, and sort of bring that standing up? And let's face it, if he had gone out on loan again this season and played week in, week out and played well, as he did for Sheffield United last season, he may well have gone to the Euros as number one. As it is, he's come back to our club and he's played second fiddle, and obviously that's probably unlikely to happen now. I maybe would slightly disagree in terms of I would be tempted to, and I think I've seen enough to make Henderson our number one. I think De Gea has been a fantastic servant for us, and we've talked about it before. He was, I think Nick said, put it well, he's been our sort of best player in our worst period. Saved us numerous points, won us numerous games if he saved, etc. He's been a fantastic servant, but for me, there's only one way from here, unfortunately, and that's downhill. Yes, maybe it is a bit of a risk in terms of Henderson's had one good season at Sheffield United, but I think I've seen enough to be inclined to take that risk and put confidence in him, make him our number one, and see how we get on.
Yeah, I agree. That's a really good point, actually. Especially with uncertain season that Pickford's had at Everton. Pope, obviously, it seems like a sort of safe pair of hands, but plays for Burnley, and that you always, it's not the most attractive of clubs. They won't play out from the back, and that you want a keeper that can do that. So you imagine if Hendo had a season as first choice, what would that have done for his Euro chances and his return coming back to United? I think that we would have been putting in England's number one as our number one. I think that was a much stronger position for him, and that's probably why maybe some of these reports have come out. On the flip side, that might leave a little bit frustrated to someone like Henderson. Joe?
Yeah, just to go back on that, I think someone might have mentioned it the other week. I think a good comparison is what happened with Chelsea when they had Cech and Courtois. I mean, I think there was enough hype surrounding Henderson after his season at Sheffield United that he maybe could have gone on loan to a bigger club, played number one there, and we could have been in a similar situation to they had, which I think was an ideal one. He's obviously moved on since, but yeah, that's the way it's gone.
Yeah, that was me last week, Joe. Yeah, no, I think you're right there, really. But Chelsea had done it. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, Courtois had 3 seasons at Atletico. After the second, it was really quite a struggle for him to get the 3rd season, but I think they managed to get that through. And then it was very much where you're coming back to, spar with Cech for that number one spot, and that was very, very apparent. But Cech was that bit older than what De Gea is. I mean, at the end of the day, De Gea is no one's number 2. That's just obvious. Wherever he goes, he's got to be a number 1 goalkeeper. So I don't really think that he would stay or want to stay if he was going to be number 2. I don't get that impression. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe because he loves the club, he might want to do that. But yeah, I think obviously hindsight is always 2020. But it does strike me as a bit of a strange decision. One, on a personal level from Henderson, and two, from a club decision, the sort of route that we've taken. It's almost a no-brainer to let him go out on loan again for another season. Finish the Romero contract. Romero's like the perfect sub goalkeeper because he's absolutely happy as Larry being a number 2 and playing the cup games, picking up the cones, getting the water bottles, and having a bit of teaching the lads a bit of Spanish at training. So you can ask for a better number 2 goalkeeper. Brilliant record, really, really reliable. Argentina's number 1 for many moons. So yeah, it made perfect sense. But yeah, I don't know really. I would like to see him get a chance because, as you've all mentioned, we don't know if he's our number 1. We don't know if he's going to be good enough to be a number 1 unless he's given a chance. And I suppose now, what next? Do we sort of go, oh, actually, we made an error, let's chuck you on loan again next season? Because how long before he sort of becomes a bit, disinterested? Obviously, he's a club man, he's a United man, but it's certainly a decision that we'll have to make. I would think perhaps maybe this summer, at the very latest, very, very latest by the end of next summer, because you've got teams like Dortmund and Tottenham courting him, and I think his head's going to be turned if he doesn't get a promise or at least an inclination that he might get some first team football on a regular basis.
Yeah, I agree. I think the thinking was we know that Romero's not going to push De Gea for the number 1 spot, and we've got concerns with De Gea. We need a goalkeeper that can try and push him at least. But then it's not really happened because De Gea's made some mistakes and kept his space in the team. So it feels like Ollie's not quite sure on either, and we'll just plump for the experience. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. All right,
do you
guys.
think, and sorry, Mark, so do you just on a point you've raised there, so do you think Ollie has kind of the strength with some of maybe these bigger characters in the team? So like Bruno, to me, in the words of Roy Keane, I am flabbergasted that he started tonight. There's literally no reason for him to start other than he's gone to Ollie, I'm playing, and that's it. I mean, it makes no sense why he's playing, especially with sort of the injury list that we've got. Do you think that maybe Ollie might struggle with some of these bigger characters in the dressing room, some of the bigger name players, the player on bigger wages, to kind of sort of really stamp his authority and kind of say, like, drop a De Gea or go, I'm sorry, Bruno, lad, but, take a seat at home, have a couple of custard tarts and some Portuguese cakes and chill? Has he got that in his locker as yet, Ollie, do you think?
I think so, yeah. I mean, just because Bruno come off at half-time, he's got to run around, keep him fresh. Bruno might be a player that needs momentum, needs regular time on the pitch, and he's not worried about burnout. Only time will tell with Bruno whether, in a few weeks' time and the running sort of starts, and if he's not firing, then it will look like a mistake. But if he's still playing well, then it will have worked. So I'm not sure. I mean, you can see, I think Ollie, if you remember when we got beat at Everton, when Ollie was caretaker, or just after he got made permanent, perhaps, I think it was a bad loss. I think it's 4-0. And he turned around after that and said, look, there's some players that have played there today who are not going to be part of my team moving forward. There's some players that he's moved on quite clearly. People like Sanchez, who was on big money, not in his plans. He's moved him on. Big character. Lukaku was another one. Obviously didn't fancy him. Moved him on. Smalling obviously had a number of years at United. He turned around to him and said, "Look, you're a problem. You're moving on." So I think Solskjaer can manage these players. He is getting the best out of the squad. It's just he's got a few holes. He's got a few problems to fix, and this one might be a case of really nothing's going to change until the summer anyway. Let's wait it out. Let's wait and see. De Gea is always the number one choice. Henderson will just he'll be there and he'll play as and when needed. If De Gea gets injured, then great. I've got someone who can, take the number one jersey, and he'll manage it in the summer. I think that's when the decision will be made. if you come off the back of this season and De Gea lets him down in the sort of second half of the season and he doesn't do anything about it, then yeah, maybe we'll have that conversation. Says he can't manage these big players, but I think at the moment, but I'm not that concerned. I don't know if anyone else disagrees with that. No. All right, good stuff. So we'll wrap it up there then. We've had some really good chat tonight, guys. Obviously, we've reviewed the Newcastle game. We've been talking about the Sociedad game tonight in fits and starts. We've previewed Chelsea and Crystal Palace, and had another great round on the quiz. Next week's podcast, next Thursday, we'll obviously review the Chelsea game, review the Palace game, see if our predictions on those two games have come right. And then it's all about the derby against City on Sunday, the 7th of March, which, again, that'll be our third away game in a trot on the league. Maybe our away unbeaten run will still be intact by then. Who knows? City obviously look very strong at the top of the league currently. So a lot of football to be played before that games. But we'll look forward to that. I've been Mark. Also on the pod tonight has been Nick, Joe, and Orlando. And we wish you a very good week and look forward to next week's podcast. Bye, guys.
But how do you think the club is going to react to losing Alex Ferguson within that dressing room?
You just don't know. Only time can tell.